She won an Oscar, stole hearts worldwide, and was once called more wholesome than any American actress. Then came one affair that made the U.S. Senate called her a powerful influence for evil. So how did Ingrid Bergman go from beloved icon to Hollywood exile overnight? Childhood and family tragedy. Ingrid Bergman was born in Stockholm, Sweden in 1915. Her early life was shaped by a series of losses that came one after another, each one changing the direction of her childhood. Her mother died when she was just 2 years old. Ingrid never got the chance to remember her or build any memories. That absence stayed with her, even though she couldn't fully understand it at the time. She was left with her father, Eustace Bergman, who was a photographer. He became her whole world. Through his work, he introduced her to the idea of storytelling through pictures. But even that connection was cut short. When she was 13, her father died. Losing both parents before reaching her teenage years left her without a stable home. After her father's death, she went to live with her Uncle Otto and his family. At first, it seemed like she would finally settle into a new routine. But that too didn't last. Her uncle died not long after she moved in. Once again, she had to pack her things and move, this time going from one relative's home to another. This constant movement had a big effect on her. Each new house came with a different set of rules, new people to adjust to, and another reminder that she didn't quite belong. She wasn't mistreated, but she wasn't fully rooted anywhere either. She carried a kind of quiet independence, shaped by the fact that she had to learn early on how to adapt and stay grounded even when nothing around her felt stable. As a teenager, she never had a permanent room or a space she could call her own for long, and yet she found a kind of escape from all that instability. That escape came through performance. She was drawn to acting from a young age. It started with her father's camera but grew into something bigger. She joined school plays and found that when she stepped onto a stage, she felt a sense of control she didn't have in real life. Acting gave her structure. It also gave her a voice when her personal life often left her feeling small or displaced. She wasn't loud or dramatic offstage, but when she was performing, she became someone else, someone whose life didn't keep falling apart. Ingrid didn't grow up in wealth or with the safety net most people imagine when they think of future movie stars. She had to depend on herself. She learned how to listen more than speak, how to observe people, and how to express emotion without always using words. These were skills that would later make her stand out on screen, but back then, they were just ways of surviving. She didn't have many close childhood friends because she kept moving. She kept her emotions close to her chest, relying on her inner world instead of the people around her. That habit stayed with her even after she became famous. Theater school and early acting roles in Sweden. At the age of 18, she was accepted into the Royal Dramatic Theatre School in Stockholm, which was the most respected acting school in Sweden at the time. It was a small, competitive program that accepted only a handful of students each year. Bergman was one of the youngest in her class, and she stood out almost immediately. While most of her classmates focused on stage training, Bergman was already looking toward film. Even before completing her studies, she began taking small roles in Swedish movies. Her first on-screen appearance came in a tiny part as an extra in the film Landskamp in 1932, before she had even started drama school. Once enrolled, she continued taking minor roles during school breaks. One of her early speaking parts came in the film Munkbrogreven, The Count of Monk's Bridge, in 1935, where she played the female lead opposite Swedish star Edvin Adolphson. The film didn't make her famous, but it gave her valuable screen experience and showed producers that she could carry a film. By 1936, she landed the role that would change everything. She was cast in Intermezzo, a romantic drama about a married violinist who falls in love with his daughter's piano teacher. Bergman played the young teacher opposite star Gösta Ekman. The film was a success in Sweden, but more importantly, it showed a different kind of leading lady. She wasn't styled like a glamorous movie star. She wore little makeup, had a natural look, and gave a performance that felt honest and emotional. It made her stand out in an era when many actresses were expected to be polished and dramatic. After the film's release, she was offered a series of lead roles. She quickly became one of the most popular actresses in Swedish cinema. Over the next couple of years, she appeared in several successful films, including Dollar, 1938, A Woman's Face, 1938, and Only One Night, 1939. Each performance helped build her reputation as someone who could bring depth and realism to her roles. Directors appreciated how easily she adapted to different characters without losing her sense of self. Audiences connected with her because she seemed real, not distant or untouchable. Even as her popularity grew, Bergman remained focused on her craft. She continued learning on every set. She asked questions, studied her scenes closely, and worked hard to understand the emotional details of each role. Colleagues described her as disciplined, serious, and always prepared. What made her different at this stage wasn't just her acting skills. It was how she came across on camera. Her expressions felt honest. Her movements were natural. She didn't try to dominate the screen with big gestures or exaggerated emotions. That quiet strength made an impression, and it helped set her apart in a competitive industry. By her early 20s, Ingrid Bergman had gone from a drama student in Stockholm to one of Sweden's most respected film stars. Hollywood invitation and moved to the U.S. And then in 1939, Ingrid Bergman got a call that would change her life. David O. Selznick, a big Hollywood producer, invited her to star in the American remake of Intermezzo. At the time, Ingrid was a rising star in Sweden, but Hollywood was a whole new world. Without hesitation, she accepted and moved to the United States. Moving across the ocean was not easy. Ingrid arrived with little English and no Hollywood training. She didn't have agents guiding her or coaches helping her learn the Hollywood way. Most foreign actors at the time were expected to change their names or alter their appearances to fit the American market. Ingrid refused both. She kept her real name and her natural look. She didn't want to become someone she wasn't. That choice made her different. While many stars were polished and rehearsed, Ingrid came across as authentic and natural. American audiences noticed this. She wasn't pretending to be American. She was herself, with a Swedish accent and quiet confidence. This honesty made people like her. They saw her as real, not just another Hollywood creation. Selznick's Intermezzo remake gave her a strong start. The film told a simple love story about a violinist and his romance. Ingrid's performance was praised for being sincere and emotional. She didn't rely on overacting or flashy moves. She brought a quiet depth that was rare in Hollywood then. This made studios and audiences take notice. Her English improved fast, but she kept her accent. Instead of hiding it, she made it part of her charm. Ingrid wasn't trying to erase her background. She used it to stand out. This helped her build a unique identity in Hollywood. She became known as the Swedish actress who felt both exotic and approachable. Ingrid worked hard to learn the American style of filmmaking. She learned how to deliver lines naturally and work with directors who expected quick results. She adapted to a new system but never lost the soft, elegant style that made her special. Her performances felt fresh and honest. Her first years in Hollywood weren't about overnight fame. She climbed the ladder steadily. More people started to recognize her face and name. By the early 1940s, she was a trusted lead actress. Studios gave her roles that needed real emotion. She played characters who were kind, strong, and sincere without being dramatic. Her success without changing her name or look proved something important too. Many foreign actors felt pressure to change who they were to succeed in America. Ingrid showed there was space for stars who stayed true to themselves. This helped change how Hollywood saw international talent. Ingrid's early Hollywood years showed her grit and willingness to adapt. She worked with top directors and actors. People respected her on set because she was professional and prepared. But she never lost the qualities that made her unique, her naturalness and sincerity. This period laid the foundation for her becoming one of America's most beloved actresses, known for her talent and genuine screen presence. Hollywood breakthrough and rise to fame. Right after Intermezzo, she began working with some of the biggest names in the film industry. She didn't waste any time. Hollywood producers and directors saw something different in her. She worked alongside top actors and under respected directors from early on. This gave her the chance to learn quickly and improve her craft. She wasn't just another pretty face. She was a serious actress who could handle complex roles. Some of her notable films during this period include Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in 1941. In this film, she acted alongside Spencer Tracy. Her role demanded emotional depth because the story explored a man with a dark split personality. Bergman held her own in this intense film and showed she could play more than just romantic leads. She demonstrated a strong ability to express inner conflict and vulnerability, which became a key feature of her acting style. The following year, in 1942, she starred in Casablanca. This movie became one of the most famous films in Hollywood history. Ingrid played Ilse Lund, the former lover of the main character Rick Blaine, played by Humphrey Bogart. Her performance was calm but powerful, full of quiet emotion. She didn't overact or exaggerate her feelings. Instead, she showed real, believable emotions that connected with the audience. This role made her a household name and a symbol of emotional honesty on screen. Then, throughout the 1940s, Ingrid Bergman took on more leading roles in different genres. She was not limited to one type of film. She worked in dramas, romances, and thrillers. For example, she appeared in Gaslight, 1944, a thriller where she played a woman who slowly realizes her husband is trying to drive her insane. Her performance showed fear, confusion, and strength, all in a way that felt very real to the audience. In For Whom the Bell Tolls, 1943, she took on a romantic and war drama role opposite Gary Cooper, proving she could handle emotionally complex and physically demanding parts. Her choices showed a clear effort to avoid being typecast. She wanted to be seen as a serious actress capable of taking on different challenges. This variety helped her build a reputation as one of the most talented actresses in Hollywood at the time. Bergman also became known for her work ethic. Directors and co-stars praised her for being professional, prepared, and easy to work with. She learned her lines quickly and gave each character full attention. This made her reliable and respected in the industry, which helped her land more important roles. Her rise to fame was fast but steady. Unlike some stars who became famous for one big hit and then faded, Ingrid kept building on her success. Each new movie showed a different side of her talent. She became more than just a pretty face. She became a respected artist. During this time, Hollywood was still heavily studio-controlled, and stars often had to accept the roles given to them. But Bergman managed to bring something personal to each part. Her natural style of acting didn't always fit with the more theatrical or glamorous Hollywood style, but audiences loved her for it. Her presence on screen changed what people expected from actresses. Instead of focusing only on looks and charm, she proved that emotional truth and subtlety could create strong, memorable performances. This made her stand out in a crowded field and ensured that her career continued to grow. By the mid-1940s, Ingrid Bergman was one of the top actresses in Hollywood. She had a string of successful movies and critical praise. She was well on her way to becoming one of the most influential film stars of her generation. Public image and industry reputation. Her on-screen presence exuded calm and steadiness, qualities that shaped how audiences perceived her off-screen as well. There was a groundedness in the way she moved through every role, a quiet authority that never felt put on. Hollywood quickly leaned into that image, framing her as the ideal woman, morally centered, reliable, and sincere. She came across as someone who did the right thing, even when it wasn't easy. At a time when many actresses were cast as flirtatious, dramatic, or rebellious, her performances offered a striking contrast. She often portrayed women who endured, loyal wives, selfless mothers, or figures who sacrificed their own happiness for others. Her characters didn't seek attention or break rules. They held families together and carried themselves with grace under pressure. Audiences believed her not just because she acted well, but because she seemed to embody those values in real life. There was a quiet strength about her that didn't rely on glamour or theatrics. She avoided the gossip columns and didn't chase publicity. Instead, she appeared thoughtful, modest, and deeply focused on her work. That kind of authenticity resonated with people. She didn't fit the traditional mold of a movie star, and that made her even more compelling. She wasn't unpredictable or self-promoting. She felt real, and that realism, more than glamour, is what drew people in. Within the film industry, her reputation was just as strong. Directors and producers knew she was dependable, always prepared, always professional. She arrived on time, knew her lines, and respected the collaborative nature of filmmaking. There were no ego-driven disruptions, no need to dominate a set. Her seemingly effortless performances came from meticulous preparation. She studied her characters with care, exploring their inner lives so that even the most subtle scenes felt emotionally rich. Filmmakers valued that kind of depth and discipline. She didn't treat acting as a shortcut to fame, it was a craft she honored. That's why she continued to land complex, meaningful roles. She wasn't just cast for her looks, but for the intelligence and precision she brought to every project. Her reputation wasn't built on spectacle, but on consistency and quiet excellence. She let the work speak for itself, and over time, that approach earned her one of the most respected names in Hollywood. Audiences trusted her, directors relied on her, and fellow actors admired her. She proved that lasting influence didn't require flash or controversy. It could come from integrity, focus, and genuine talent. But while her public image projected calm and stability, her private life told a very different story. First marriage to Petter Lindström. In 1937, Ingrid Bergman married Petter Lindström, a Swedish neurosurgeon. He wasn't part of the movie world, and they came from very different lives. Petter was quiet and private, focused on his medical career, while Ingrid's life was already heading toward the bright, loud spotlight of Hollywood. They met in Sweden before her big move to America, and their relationship started in a more ordinary, calm setting compared to the chaotic world of show business. A year after they got married, Ingrid gave birth to their daughter Pia in 1938. Pia was their only child together. Despite the early joy of becoming parents, their family life was soon challenged by Ingrid's rising career. She was moving quickly into Hollywood and taking on big film projects, which meant she had to spend a lot of time away from home. The couple often lived apart because of her work commitments. Ingrid's career demanded travel and long hours on set, and Petter stayed mostly in Sweden, focusing on his own life as a doctor. Petter Lindström was a private man. Unlike Ingrid, who was becoming a public figure adored by fans and chased by the press, Petter preferred to stay out of the spotlight. He didn't attend many public events with her, nor did he try to use her fame to boost his own profile. This separation between their worlds meant they didn't share much of their personal lives with the public. You rarely heard about him in interviews or gossip columns, and he was not involved in Hollywood circles. The distance and difference in their lives put strain on their relationship. Living apart is hard for any couple, and when one person's life revolves around constant public attention and travel, it gets even harder. Ingrid's time in Hollywood grew more intense with every film, while Petter's life remained stable and quiet back in Sweden. They struggled to find common ground and keep their marriage strong across the miles. As Ingrid's career continued to grow, so did the tension between them. The demands of her work and the lifestyle it required made it difficult for them to maintain a close connection. They tried to make it work, but the gap between their lives widened. Petter wanted a peaceful family life, but Ingrid was drawn to the excitement and opportunity of her acting career. Eventually, this distance took a toll on their marriage. They stayed married for over a decade, but the challenges of balancing fame and private life created problems they could not easily solve. Ingrid's choices and the direction her life took would soon lead to bigger changes in her personal relationships. But this first marriage laid the foundation for the struggles she would face later. During this time, Ingrid managed to keep her personal and professional worlds separate in the public eye. She did not openly discuss her marriage difficulties or her time apart from Petter. Instead, she focused on building her career, working on films, and becoming one of Hollywood's biggest stars. Petter remained a quiet figure, supporting his wife from a distance, but not becoming part of the Hollywood scene. Their daughter Pia grew up mostly with her father in Sweden, especially after Ingrid's career pulled her further away. This separation affected their family life deeply. Pia would spend time with her mother when possible, but much of her childhood was spent away from Ingrid, who was busy working and traveling. The family bonds were stretched thin by distance and differing priorities. But despite the emotional strain in her personal life, Ingrid's passion for her craft never wavered. As time went on, the roles she had once embraced began to feel limiting, and a sense of creative restlessness took hold. Creative restlessness and search for new work. Ingrid Bergman was famous for playing sweet, virtuous characters in Hollywood. She often played women who were kind, innocent, and morally good. These roles made her one of the most beloved actresses of her time. But after a while, Bergman started feeling trapped by these parts. They were all too similar. She wanted to try something different, roles with more depth and challenge. Hollywood had a habit of typecasting stars, especially women. Bergman was no exception. She became the go-to actress for pure, wholesome characters. While this made her popular, it didn't satisfy her as an artist. She wanted to portray real people, complex, flawed, and interesting. She felt that many of her roles were too safe and predictable, lacking the kind of emotional weight she wanted to explore. Because of this, Bergman began to look beyond Hollywood. She was drawn to films with more serious, meaningful stories. She wanted to act in movies that felt honest and showed life as it really was, not just glamorous fantasy. Her curiosity led her toward European cinema, where filmmakers were experimenting with new ideas after World War II. One particular movement caught her attention: Italian neorealism. This style focused on telling stories about ordinary people facing real problems. The films often used real locations and sometimes non-actors, aiming for a raw, authentic look. These movies didn't rely on fancy sets or elaborate scripts. Instead, they showed the daily struggles of life, especially in the post-war world. Ingrid saw something powerful in this style. She was moved by the way these films portrayed real emotions and hardships without glossing over the truth. A movie called Rome Open City stood out to her. Directed by Roberto Rossellini, it showed life in Nazi-occupied Rome during the war. The film was honest and gripping, full of real fear and hope. Bergman felt inspired by this new approach to filmmaking. She wanted to work with Rossellini and be part of that raw, truthful cinema. So she did something bold. She wrote him a letter. For a Hollywood star, this was unusual. She expressed her desire to collaborate and explore roles with more artistic depth. This letter marked a turning point. Bergman was willing to leave behind the comfort of her Hollywood success to follow her creative instincts. She wasn't just looking for fame anymore. She wanted roles that challenged her and reflected her own artistic values. She wanted to act in stories that spoke honestly about life and people. Working with Rossellini was a risk. He was a respected director in Europe, but not yet a major figure in Hollywood. His films were very different from the big studio productions Bergman was used to. But she was ready to take that chance because she believed in the power of these stories. The films Bergman made with Rossellini showed a new side of her acting. She played complicated characters dealing with tough situations. These roles brought critical praise and changed how audiences saw her. She was no longer just the sweet, innocent woman. She became an actress who could handle real, difficult emotions and situations. Bergman's interest in European cinema showed her deep commitment to her craft. She wasn't satisfied with playing safe or popular roles. She wanted her work to matter. Writing to Rossellini was more than a career move. It was a clear statement about what she wanted as an artist. This shift wasn't easy. It meant leaving the familiar behind and stepping into a different kind of filmmaking, but Bergman's creative restlessness pushed her forward. She wanted to explore new ideas and express herself in ways Hollywood hadn't allowed. In the end, Bergman's search for new work was about finding her real artistic voice. She moved from Hollywood's polished roles to the honest, emotional world of post-war European cinema. This choice showed her courage and dedication. She wanted to be more than just a star. She wanted to be a serious actress. Her decision changed her career and influenced the film world. Bergman showed that fame and typecasting don't have to define an artist. She chose to follow her passion for truth and complexity in acting, even if it meant risking everything. But as she pursued deeper artistic truth, her personal life took a dramatic turn. Affair with Roberto Rossellini and pregnancy. During the filming of Stromboli, Ingrid and Rossellini grew close. Their professional relationship quickly turned personal. They started an affair. This wasn't a secret for long. The fact that Ingrid was still married to Petter Lindström, her husband from Sweden, made everything more complicated. She became pregnant during the affair. At the time, Ingrid had not yet divorced Lindström. This situation created a serious problem, especially in the United States, where public figures were expected to keep their personal lives private and clean. When news of Ingrid Bergman's affair with Roberto Rossellini and her pregnancy broke out, the reaction in the United States was swift and harsh. Some U.S. senators didn't hold back. They publicly condemned her right on the Senate floor, making her scandal a matter of national concern. It wasn't just gossip in the papers anymore, it became part of official government discussion. For many people, this wasn't simply a personal matter. It felt like a moral failure that needed to be punished. Religious groups and moral watchdog organizations jumped in immediately. They saw Bergman's actions as a threat to the social values they wanted to protect. These groups called for boycotts of her movies and warned the public to stay away from anything associated with her. The calls were loud and widespread. This pressure made it very hard for anyone in the entertainment business to openly support her. Hollywood studios reacted quickly. They began to distance themselves from her. Once one of the biggest stars, she found herself pushed to the sidelines. Contracts were not renewed and roles stopped coming her way. The industry that had celebrated her now treated her like a liability. The risk of negative publicity made her less desirable for studios to work with. Public opinion shifted sharply. People who once admired Bergman started to turn against her. Her image as a pure and virtuous woman was shattered. For many fans, her personal life became a reason to reject her films and avoid her presence in the media. The backlash was widespread and intense. She was no longer seen as the sweet, dependable star. Instead, she was labeled with scandal and moral failure. Feeling the weight of this rejection, Bergman left the United States. She went to Europe and stayed away from Hollywood for several years. During this time, she kept a low profile in the American press. She didn't return to the U.S. until much later, after the scandal had died down and she had started to rebuild her career overseas. The years away from America were difficult but necessary for her to escape the storm and find new opportunities. This period marked a major turning point in her life. The public attack was not just about her private choices. It was a cultural moment showing how strict and unforgiving society was at that time. The reaction to Bergman's affair revealed a lot about American values in the late 1940s and early 1950s, especially how female celebrities were expected to behave. However, amid the controversy and public judgment, Bergman remained committed to the path she had chosen. Rather than retreating, she embraced a new life, one that reflected her personal and artistic convictions. Marriage and family with Rossellini. In 1950, Ingrid Bergman married Roberto Rossellini, the same Italian director with whom she had fallen in love during the filming of Stromboli. Their marriage marked a major turning point in her life. It was not just a personal union but a partnership that blended their professional and creative worlds. Soon after they married, they had 3 children together, a son named Roberto and twin daughters, Isabella and Ingrid. Raising a family became an important part of her life, but it was far from easy. Their family life was nomadic. Rossellini was a director deeply committed to his work, often shooting films in various locations across Italy and Europe. Bergman followed him from place to place, moving frequently to keep the family together while he pursued his projects. There was little stability in their daily lives because they were always on the move, living between film sets, small towns, and sometimes in rough or remote areas. Ingrid adjusted to this lifestyle because she wanted to support Rossellini and be close to their children. Their relationship was intense and complicated. It mixed strong personal feelings with creative tension. They were both passionate about their work, and this sometimes led to disagreements. Rossellini was a visionary director, strict and demanding on set, and Bergman was a talented actress used to the Hollywood system. The differences in their working styles created friction. They argued about how she should act in his films and about the direction of his projects. Despite this, there was a deep bond between them. Their love and shared artistic vision held them together through difficult times. Rossellini cast Bergman in several of his films. He believed in her talent and wanted her to be the face of his projects. These films were very different from the Hollywood movies she had done before. Rossellini's style was rooted in Italian neorealism, which focused on everyday life and social issues. His movies were raw and often filmed in real locations with non-professional actors alongside Bergman. This approach was a big change for her. She took on roles that challenged her as an actress and moved away from the glamorous image she had in America. Unfortunately, these films did not succeed commercially. They struggled to attract large audiences, especially outside of Italy. Critics and viewers in the United States were not ready for the style of storytelling Rossellini used. His films were slow-paced and focused on ordinary people's struggles, which made them less popular with the general public. This lack of success was a problem for Bergman. It affected her career and her standing in the film industry. After being a major star in Hollywood, she now found herself working in movies that few people wanted to see. Their marriage also faced pressures from the public and media. The scandal caused by their affair and Ingrid's pregnancy before they married had damaged her reputation in America. Many people still remembered the controversy, and it made it harder for her to regain her previous level of fame. The challenges of moving constantly and living under public scrutiny added stress to their family life. Raising 3 children in this environment was difficult, but Bergman tried to keep her family grounded despite the instability. The children grew up in a creative environment. Both Roberto and the twins, Isabella and Ingrid, were exposed to film sets and artistic discussions from a young age. Ingrid's daughters would eventually follow in her footsteps and become actresses themselves. The family's nomadic lifestyle meant they had to adapt to different cultures and languages. They lived a life far from the normal routines most families have, shaped by Rossellini's work and Bergman's career decisions. While the marriage was full of love and shared creativity, it was also marked by struggles. The professional disagreements and the financial difficulties caused by the poor reception of Rossellini's films put strain on the relationship. They tried to balance their personal life with their demanding careers, but did not always succeed. Over time, the cracks in their marriage grew wider, and they eventually separated. Still, during the years they were together, their family was central to their lives. Bergman was deeply committed to her children, and despite the ups and downs, she worked to give them as much stability as possible under the circumstances. Isolation from Hollywood and box office decline. After the infamous scandal with Rossellini, Ingrid Bergman's career in Hollywood had taken a sharp downturn. Overnight, she went from one of the most beloved actresses in America to someone many studios no longer wanted to be associated with. Hollywood, which had built her up as the ideal woman and screen icon, now saw her as a liability. Her image as the perfect, morally upright heroine no longer matched the public narrative, and that mismatch hurt her deeply, both personally and professionally. The films she made during this period, like Europe 51 and Fear, reflected a shift in her focus. These were more introspective, serious, and artistic than her earlier work, but they didn't perform well commercially. American audiences especially were not receptive. The press refused to promote her films the way they once did, and distributors were cautious about taking a chance on her. Studios in the U.S. no longer considered her a safe investment. She had lost what the industry calls bankable status, the trust that her name alone could bring in ticket sales. It was a steep fall from grace for someone who had once been one of the biggest stars in the world. As a result, Bergman was gradually shut out of the Hollywood system. Major roles dried up. Invitations stopped coming. Younger, scandal-free actresses filled the roles she would have once been offered without question. By the early 1950s, Bergman was no longer living in the public spotlight. She worked mostly in Europe, far from the Hollywood scene, and rarely appeared in magazines or newspapers unless it was to discuss the scandal. She was effectively exiled from the industry that had once celebrated her, and there was no clear path back. At the same time, her personal life was also falling apart. Her marriage to Roberto Rossellini, the Italian director she had sacrificed everything for, was now beyond saving. The same intensity that had fueled their romantic beginning turned into something far more volatile. Rossellini was deeply absorbed in his work and often unavailable. Bergman, meanwhile, was trying to balance motherhood, a fractured public image, and a stalled career. The demands on their relationship were enormous, and neither of them had the stability or space to make it work. They clashed often, and the connection that had once felt so powerful now seemed frayed and fragile. By 1956, they had separated, and their divorce became final in 1957. It was a painful end to a relationship that had defined a major chapter of her life. The split didn't just mark the end of their marriage, It marked the closing of a chaotic, emotionally exhausting period. She was left alone, distanced from Hollywood and still carrying the weight of public judgment. The same media that had once praised her now rarely mentioned her without referencing her fall from grace. The silence was almost worse than the criticism. During this time, Bergman's isolation went beyond professional exile. Emotionally, she was dealing with the collapse of her public identity. She had been one of the most admired women in the world, and now she was a symbol of scandal. The warm approval of fans had vanished. In its place was a long period of silence, indifference, or quiet disapproval. Former friends in the industry kept their distance. Opportunities were few. It was clear that many still saw her as a risk, someone whose presence might damage a film more than elevate it. And yet, through all of this, Bergman never stopped working. She took roles in smaller, less commercial projects, often in different languages and markets. She performed in plays, accepted parts in modest European films, and kept acting wherever she could. Her commitment to her craft never faded, even when it was clear that the rewards and recognition would be minimal. This period tested her resilience in ways fame never had. Without the spotlight or the applause, she still chose to keep going. Her career didn't disappear, but it had changed completely. The scandal had left deep marks, not just on how the world saw her, but on how she had to rebuild, almost from scratch. Return to Hollywood and professional rehabilitation. But after years away from Hollywood, Ingrid Bergman finally made a strong comeback with the film Anastasia. This movie marked a turning point in her career. It was her first major Hollywood role since the scandal surrounding her affair with Roberto Rossellini and the resulting exile. Many had thought her career in America was over, but Anastasia proved otherwise. In the film, Bergman played the role of Anna Koreff, a woman who claims to be the lost Russian princess Anastasia. The character was complex, combining mystery, vulnerability, and strength. Bergman's performance was widely praised for its depth and emotional honesty. Critics admired her ability to bring a real sense of humanity to the character, making audiences connect with her story. This role showed that she had not lost her talent during her time away. Anastasia earned Ingrid Bergman her second Academy Award for Best Actress. Winning this Oscar was significant for several reasons. It signaled the industry's recognition of her skill despite the personal controversies that had overshadowed her earlier work. The award gave her a renewed standing in Hollywood and helped to soften some of the harsh judgment she had faced during the scandal. Bergman's win was not just about the film, but about her resilience and return to the screen as a leading lady. Throughout this period, Bergman did not publicly apologize for her past or try to explain herself. She chose to let her work speak for itself. She avoided the media frenzy and stayed focused on her craft. This decision helped her maintain dignity in the face of criticism and kept the spotlight on her talent rather than her personal life. It was a clear message that she wanted to be known for her acting, not her scandals. As time passed, both the industry and fans slowly welcomed Bergman back. Movie studios began to see her as a valuable asset again, and casting directors offered her more roles. Audiences who had once turned away started to return, drawn by her skill and charisma on screen. The public's mood softened, and Bergman's name once again became associated with serious acting rather than gossip columns. With her reputation gradually restored, Bergman expanded her work internationally. She took roles in European films and theater, balancing her career between the United States and Europe. This allowed her to explore a wider variety of characters and styles. It also gave her the freedom to rebuild her career without the intense pressure she had felt in Hollywood. Bergman's comeback was not just about returning to the screen, but also about reclaiming control over her life and career. She chose roles that challenged her and reflected her artistic interests. This period showed her commitment to acting as a serious profession, rather than just a means of fame or fortune. During these years, Bergman worked with respected directors and actors. She moved beyond the romantic heroines she had played early on, taking on more complex and mature characters. This helped reshape her public image and proved her versatility as an actress. It also set the stage for a long-lasting career that continued for decades. Mature roles and late career recognition. After Ingrid Bergman's iconic return, she chose a wide variety of parts, working in both Europe and the United States. She wanted to challenge herself and show different sides of her talent. This helped her stay respected long after her early stardom. In Europe, she worked with directors like Ingmar Bergman. Despite sharing a last name, they were not related, but their collaboration was important. Ingmar Bergman's films focused on deep human emotions. Ingrid appeared in Autumn Sonata, 1978, which gave her a chance to explore complex feelings and show her skills as a mature actress. In the U.S., she worked with directors like Sidney Lumet, known for strong, character-driven films. These collaborations proved she could adapt to different styles and still deliver powerful performances. Her ability to work in both European art films and Hollywood movies made her career rich and varied. During this time, Ingrid appeared in several notable films. In The Inn of the Sixth Happiness, 1958, she played a British missionary, a strong role different from her earlier romantic leads. Later, in Cactus Flower, 1969, she starred in a comedy that won praise for its light tone, introducing her to new audiences. Her most famous late role was in Murder on the Orient Express, 1974. She played a mysterious woman involved in a murder case. The film featured a star-studded cast. This role earned her a staggering third Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. Winning an Oscar late in her career showed she still had skill and appeal. Ingrid gained respect for her artistic range. She wasn't just a pretty face or romantic heroine. She took on serious drama, comedy, and deep character studies. This range helped her maintain a strong career as the industry changed. Audiences and critics admired her honesty in every role. Her choices showed intelligence and passion for acting. She didn't just want fame, she wanted to grow. This attitude kept her work fresh. She worked steadily and never became complacent, always looking for challenging parts. Her late career also showed personal strength. After the scandal that hurt her reputation, she rebuilt her image through hard work. The respect she earned wasn't just for past success, but for what she continued to do. Her mature roles confirmed her status as one of the most talented actresses of her time. Even in her final years, Ingrid kept acting in films and on stage. She focused on quality rather than quantity, becoming a role model for actors seeking lasting careers. Final roles and health issues. She appeared in stage productions and films around the world. However, despite her fame, she chose to keep her growing health issues private. In the 1970s, she was diagnosed with breast cancer, but she still didn't make it public. Instead, she continued to work and live her life quietly, away from the spotlight when it came to her personal struggles. Her last major role was in the television movie A Woman Called Golda in 1982. In that film, she played Golda Meir, the former Prime Minister of Israel. It was a strong and challenging role. Even though she was ill and undergoing cancer treatment, she gave a powerful performance. This role earned her an Emmy Award, showing that her talent and dedication never faded. Filming that movie was difficult because she was battling cancer at the same time. Most actors would have stopped working, but Bergman kept going. She wanted to finish the project, and her professionalism showed through in every scene. Her determination to work while facing such a serious illness speaks to her strength as a person and as an artist. Before A Woman Called Golda, she had already spent decades building a career that crossed continents. She acted in European films, Hollywood productions, and on stage. In the 1970s, she took on roles that reflected her maturity as an actress. The parts she played were different from the romantic lead she was known for in her younger years. She showed range and depth, often portraying complex, strong women. During those later years, Bergman's work wasn't just about fame or money. It was about passion for acting and commitment to telling stories. Even as her body weakened, her mind stayed sharp, and her performances remained full of emotion and honesty. People who worked with her said she brought a calm and steady presence to the set. She inspired others with her quiet courage. Bergman's decision to keep her illness private was common at the time. Celebrities often hid their health problems because the public and studios could react negatively. She didn't want her cancer to define her or overshadow her work. So she managed her treatments in secret while continuing to show up for her roles. That kind of privacy was important to her. Her final role was also a departure from the classic roles she had played in her early Hollywood career. Portraying Golda Meir required understanding a political figure with a complicated legacy. Bergman studied the role carefully. She worked hard to capture Meir's strength, determination, and sometimes difficult personality. Critics praised her for bringing depth and respect to the character. The Emmy she won for A Woman Called Golda was a reminder that even after decades in the industry, she could still deliver outstanding performances. It was one of the highest honors for television acting in the U.S. The award showed that her talent remained recognized and respected. Throughout this period, Bergman balanced the demands of her career with her health challenges. She did not slow down until the very end. Her ability to continue working under those conditions reveals a deep dedication to her craft. In addition to her screen work, she also returned to the stage. Theater had been part of her roots and early career, and it remained important to her. Acting live in front of an audience requires focus and energy, which she maintained despite her illness. This return to the stage allowed her to explore different roles and connect directly with audiences again. Her final years remind us that Ingrid Bergman was more than just a movie star. She was an artist committed to her work, even when facing difficult personal challenges. The strength she showed in continuing to act during her illness adds another layer to her legacy. It shows a side of her that many people might not know, her perseverance and quiet courage behind the scenes. Death and legacy. Sadly, Ingrid Bergman died in London on August 29, 1982. She was 67 years old. The date of her death was also her birthday. This fact stands out because it's rare for someone to pass away on the exact day they were born. It adds a quiet, almost poetic note to the end of her life story. When the news of her death broke, newspapers and magazines around the world published obituaries. These articles didn't just remember her as a great actress, but also mentioned the scandals that had marked her life. The scandal with Roberto Rossellini had been one of the most talked about episodes in Hollywood history. For many years, it overshadowed her career. But even in death, people could not ignore the importance of her work on film and stage. Over time, her reputation grew beyond those scandals. Today, Ingrid Bergman is seen as one of the greatest screen actresses ever. She appeared in some of the most famous movies of the 20th century, like Casablanca and Notorious. These films have been watched and admired for decades. Her performances were natural and sincere. That honesty on screen helped her stand out from many other actors who seemed less real. People remember her for her authenticity. She didn't try to be glamorous or fake. She brought a genuine quality to her roles that connected with viewers. This made her characters feel alive and believable. Beyond her acting, Bergman was known for her strong work ethic. She worked hard to improve her craft and took every role seriously. That dedication earned her respect from directors and co-stars alike. She also had emotional intelligence. She understood her characters deeply and expressed complex feelings in subtle ways. This skill made her performances rich and layered. It is why many of her films still feel powerful today. You can see the truth in her eyes and the way she carries herself. It's not just acting, it's living the character. When people talk about Ingrid Bergman now, they look at her whole life, not just the mistakes or controversies. The scandal that shook Hollywood and America after her affair with Rossellini is part of her story, but it no longer defines her. Cultural attitudes have changed, and people have started to see her in a wider context. They understand the challenges she faced as a woman, an artist, and a person trying to live her life honestly. Her legacy is complex. She was a woman ahead of her time in many ways. She made bold choices about her career and personal life, even when it cost her public approval. Her story shows how fame and morality were judged differently in the past. Now, we can appreciate her for the full person she was: talented, flawed, and courageous. Bergman's influence extends beyond just movies. She inspired generations of actors who admired her skill and her courage. Directors still study her films to understand what makes a great performance. Fans watch her work to feel the emotional truth she brought to the screen. Even decades after her death, her name remains linked with artistic integrity and passion. Her death marked the end of a remarkable career, but her work lives on. So, if you found her story as fascinating as her films, Don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out our more untold stories of cinema's greatest legends. See you in the next one.